Hello, everyone. Hope you're doing well this afternoon. Just a quick reminder about some housekeeping items before we get started here. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Kevin and I's effort to help clarify the ever-changing landscape in terms of financial aid for freelancers in the midst of all this chaos. Whether you think the chaos is more so now on the side of COVID-19 or what the government is trying to do about it. But things are constantly changing. So we just wanted to provide you all with a resource that you can check in with on a regular basis across these webinars, across our resource page, and frankly, us, if and when you have questions. In terms of the housekeeping that I just mentioned, would love it if you all muted yourselves for this first half hour while Kevin and I have a ton to share with you. It just helps everybody focus a little bit and not miss anything, especially in the recorded version that we'll send out afterwards. So please go ahead and do that. We're hearing just a little bit of TV and conversations with others, so that would be awesome. And then also, if you haven't noticed it already, if you look at kind of the different controls that you have in your Zoom, I think everyone's fairly well educated on Zoom at this point, but there's the mute button, the stop video, which you don't need to deal with right now. But then there's also the chat bar between participants and the sharing of the screen. That chat bar that will show up on your right-hand side of your screen is a great place to just post any questions that you have on an ongoing basis. I know that we have questions that we're anticipating with the deck that we've updated since last week, but we're sure that you have additional questions. So that's a great way to just post all the questions. And once Kevin and I have gone through all the information, we will then basically roll call through all the questions and get to them as we can. We'll spend about a half hour or so doing that and getting to as many of your questions as possible. Again, we had almost 200 people register for this event. We've got about 40 at this point, and likely climbing over the next 15 minutes. So again, take this as our best effort to get to everybody and all the questions. And there are a lot of repeat questions, as we found typically. So just make sure you're paying attention. And again, after the session, later this afternoon, we will send an email from Lance, that's my company, that has all of your information that allows for you to see the recording of the video, to get the deck with the clickable links, and then get to Kevin or I in real time if you have any further questions that you really need help with. And we'll, again, try to address everything we possibly can. Just know, and it's worth me saying again, that everything is being constantly iterated and updated in this landscape that we're in right now. So what we're telling you today is, as of this moment, what we are hearing. We are connected with a ton of people across banks and merchant platforms, et cetera. And so we're just really trying to share with you all that we know at this point and what we're seeing. And then continue to update it as we get more information and more resources are available. So feel free to ask questions. If we don't have an answer to anything, we will really endeavor and strive to get those answers to you. So with that, I'm gonna just quickly introduce myself if you haven't met me before. My name is Una. I am the CEO and co-founder of Lance. I've seen many of you on Freelancer Happy Hours that we've been hosting, and through our Business Advice for Freelancers Facebook group. And we are regularly keeping an updated resource page that we'll share through the resources on all of this stuff. And with that, I will actually turn it over to Kevin to introduce himself and for me to start sharing a deck we've prepared for you. Kevin, take it away.
Hey, good afternoon. Sorry about the noise downtown. I live in Mill Valley, and one of my clients registered a gas leak, so I had to run down and deal with a claim already. But yeah, last week I broke a cardinal sin from my wife's work. She's in PR, and I answered a bunch of hypotheticals. And unfortunately, by answering hypotheticals, it only took 1 week for me to be proven completely and utterly wrong, how things had changed dramatically between what we presented last week and this week. So, Una, whenever the first slide's up, or is it up?
Yeah, no, it's not quite up yet. Sorry about that.
So just so you know, while she's working on the technical details, I am an independent contractor myself. I'm an insurance broker, commercial insurance broker for contractors, mostly construction, tile guys, plumbing, electrical. So I'm really familiar with the 1 to 2 man operation that lives job to job. And that's why Una is a good friend of my wife's. She reached out to me and says, look, you work in this space. You think you got a good idea what's going on. Would you help out? So that's why I'm here. I'd like to iterate again, like I did last week. After this is all said and done, you can always reach out to me for a half hour. I'd be happy to sit down with you, just go through your options over the phone, and all the feedback that you can provide helps me and Una get more accurate information back out to you guys. So cool. Slide, no slide?
Yeah, sorry guys, this has not happened to me before, but my computer crashed earlier today.
Yay! The
Fun
interwebs.
time. Been inundated with too much work on my end.
No. So we'll talk about the CARES Act. So,
Yep.
Una touched upon the reaction of our government to the virus. And one of the reactions to of our government was a thing called the CARES Act. And that was supposed to provide billions of dollars in relief for small business owners, corporates, things like that.
Right.
And what got trapped in the middle of it was whether or not the independent contractor, the small business owner, those of us who are not generally eligible for W-2 type relief, unemployment, things like that, COBRA, stuff like that, would we fall through the cracks? And for the first time, the feds had acknowledged our existence, which is nice. And they tried to formulate rules to allow us to have access to this, the CARES Act. And it's been kind of topsy-turvy the last 2.5 weeks. So there's the text of the CARES Act, and clearly stating those who are independent contractors, underemployed, self-employed are supposed to get something. So yeah, you can go ahead and read that thing if you ever need to fall asleep late at night. Here's the first slide. Unemployment. There was 2 parts to it, the EIDL, EIDL, and the PPP. Unemployment is local. Please understand that unemployment is state by state. So if you're in California, the rules will be totally different than if you were in Texas. I have a slide later I can share with you about unemployment. We'll get to that in a minute. The Economic Injury Disaster Loan, which was a grant and a loan that was supposed to cover all businesses, small and large, well, anything up to 500 employees. The Paycheck Protection Program, which I erroneously thought last week did not apply to the small independent contractor, and it turns out it does. The stimulus checks, and then, of course, there are now additional packages. I'm going to caveat again, this could all, and Una knows that I have the mouth of a sailor. I actually have a mouth of a Marine. This could all turn to shit in 24 hours. And so if you think about it as a big sandwich, we're all going to take a bite. When in doubt, reach out to me, and I'll try to get you the most accurate information as possible. There is a link at the end of the presentation of the best website I've found, which is the Small Business Enterprise Council. But we'll get to that in a minute. Let's go to the unemployment, please.
Yep.
All right, so the EDD, which has been extended to independent contractors, underemployed. That means if you're working part-time at a coffee shop and working a side gig, or you are working cash in hand, project to project, Uber, Lyft drivers. This has been extended from the get-go, has not changed. The one thing that hasn't changed, thank God, from the beginning of this, good on California. The challenge you're going to face here is getting on that link and getting through the system entirely. You're going to get dumped out 2 or 3 times. It's going to suck. It's working on a government website. This one requires a lot of patience, a lot of repeat, and you want to do this later at night. So the best time to do this is anytime after about 10:30. I mean, if you're a nut job like me, I go to bed at 9 and get up at 4 a.m. So that might be a good time. But late at night is usually when the traffic of the websites is down. Take a quick nap, wake up at 12:30 at night, and get it done. Again, this is open. This is the one thing that has not changed. and you are all eligible to it if you can show that your income has gone down dramatically. All right, next one, please.
I'll just
Oh, go. Sorry,
in.
my bad.
No, it's all good. I'm just going to jump in and address two questions that were posted really briefly. Each of the state's websites across the country is horrible right now. They largely have not been updated since the 70s. So be patient with the fact that they're actively right now updating all their websites, and know that if for whatever reason you're denied or there's not a text box for you today as a self-employed freelancer 1099 worker, then know that you should contact them directly, kind of raise your hand, inundate them with, hi, I'm a freelancer, you still haven't updated this, but know that they're actively working on that. And they're kind of trying to push through all of the unemployment checks that they can, claims that they can, based off of who they can find easiest in the system, based off of W-2 forms. And then they're starting to process all the self-employed people as well. And you do have that additional 600 on top of the typical unemployment off of any W-2 they can find for you over the course of the last 2 years. But just know that that's very actively being edited right now, and the bill was announced and the benefits were announced before anybody was ready to act on these.
Yeah, this is a patience thing. I saw a couple of quick chats about, hey, I tried to connect and they weren't set up yet for unemployed. I've got a couple of tips and strategies, so we'll grab those questions at the end. But yeah, there are some tips and tricks to get around it if you're self-employed. Let's go to the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, the EIDL, which is the grant plus the loan. And I want you to read out loud to yourselves in your favorite voice. This has changed since last week. I can't emphasize enough how fast this is going to change, and to check back with us as frequently as possible. Originally, this was going to be a $10,000 grant, unquestionable. They reduced it to $1,000 per employee. So if you're a one-man operation, or one person, excuse me, you only get $1,000 bucks, not the original 10. Why? My guess is because they ran out of money.
This equals to work.
We've got somebody. There we go.
Hey, can you guys all mute yourselves again? Just make sure you're muted. Somebody's TV is pretty loud.
Cool. All right. Thank you. So again, this is a 3.75 loan, 30 years to pay off for your basically your business expenses, which could include your personal payroll, depending on your point of view. This loan can only be accessed from the website link below. So it's directly from the federal government. It's a very quick questionnaire. As long as you don't operate in porn or sell marijuana, you are good to go. You say yes to everything. I know you'll get confused. Well, am I a business with less than 5 employees when I'm less this, I'm that? Just say yes to everything, get through it, and get your name in there, because it is a first come by first serve system. It's like getting a number at a deli. So get into the deli as fast as humanly possible. Great.
Yep. And just quickly as well, if the unemployment claims are also you're qualified for both unemployment and underemployment. So that's absolutely something that you should be thoughtful of as you're applying.
Yeah, remember, emphasize, I guess the biggest thing that Una and I want to emphasize is that you guys should be attacking every angle. Do not be shy. Do not be bashful. Do not think, well, do I really need it? Take the money. I can't say that loud enough. I can't say it strong enough. Take the money. Apply to everything. Everything. Because this is going to be a while before we open back up, and you deserve the money. Take the money. All right, what's next? Next slide, please.
Yep.
The Paycheck Protection Program. This is where Kevin completely walked off a cliff into a vat of acid and rabid alligators. I always thought that this applied last week to those who ran payroll, who actually used Augusto or QuickBooks. It actually turns out that if you K1 yourself, a sole prop, or even just use an S Corp or anything else, and you have got good records, and this goes back to Lance, by the way, if you've got good records about how your income is used for your personal expenses and your business expenses, you are eligible for the PPP. Now, you're all panicking. Well, they announced that the PPP ran out of money this morning because of the government, blah, 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 blah. I get that. Once it hits the news, they'll call an emergency session of whatever the heck they do, and they'll add more money to it. So, again, get in line now. Don't wait for them to give you the CNN announcement that the PPP has been refreshed with another X billions of dollars. Start the process now. And this is going to require a lender. So you're going to have to go to your bank, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, First Republic. We've got a number of other lenders out there. Is it on this slide, Una?
Yeah, Fundera is the one that we've found consistently is lending because they have a lot of lenders on their back end.
Oh, cool. Very good. So through the Lance app, you can find other lenders. Be super careful that it's a legit lender. There are already tech scams out there. Click here to get your PPP. If you get a text offering you money, more than likely it's a scam. I'm assuming that everyone's intelligent enough to understand that here, but you never know. But yeah, this is something that also requires a lot of documentation. Tax returns, bank statements, if you file your taxes quarterly, if you pay self-employment tax versus FUTA, which is your unemployment tax. Some of you guys do that, some of you guys don't. This is the documentation heavy aspect of the three things that we're throwing at you. Be organized. Use Lance. Download the thing. It's free. Grab it. It can get you rocking and get you in the front of the line. Because remember, this thing is another deli, and you got to take a number before you get your corned beef sandwich. Take the number. Do it now. Don't wait. All right, stimulus checks and additional packages coming. Una, do you want to grab this one since you seem to be more on ball this one?
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of just kind of additional checks, the stimulus checks and additional packages coming, just wanted to flag some things that have been updated within the last week and that you should start seeing come through as early as this week, but then kind of trailing on. A lot of you have seen increased news coverage around the stimulus checks coming out, a little bit of a snafu around the president wanting to have a signature on them as well before they're sent out in paper version. But the long and short of this is if you filed 2018 and or 2019 taxes and you are making under 75K a year, that is what kind of qualifies you for this $1,200 per person plus $500 per independent child stimulus check. And the way that the government is doing that is, again, based off of you actually having filed your taxes, and then they send that stimulus check, if they can, in an automated fashion to the bank account that you filed your taxes through and where you got your refund check or had funds withdrawn from. So just wanted to flag that. If for whatever reason you are making over 75K and or are head of household and or filing below a combined 150K per couple that's filed jointly, then there are reduced checks also being sent out. Just wanted to flag that. Included the IRS link that you guys will be able to click on to make sure you qualify. What is important to note is I've just noticed through talking at a lot of sessions with freelancers is sometimes you don't file your taxes because you're intimidated, you're not sure how, you haven't, hired an accountant for that year. There's constant state of overwhelm around taxes. Whatever it is, no judgment. Just know that if you're making under that 75K a year and this check could be helpful to you, you can go ahead and file your 2019 taxes and then get that, right? Really important to note just what your options are. And I would just take advantage of them if that's going to help you during this time. There's lots of different options, whether it's TurboTax, whether it's, doing your taxes through us, whatever it is, just know that that's an option for you. And you, that's how you get that money. You do not have to have filed this year's taxes to get that check if you filed 2018. That's perfectly fine because 2019 taxes aren't due until July 15th this year. But I'm just saying that file your 2018 or 2019 taxes now if you haven't done so already, to get that stimulus check. In terms of additional packages, also just wanted to go over this. There is a lot of buzz happening that I'm privy to, that Kevin's privy to, that different startup banking institutions are privy to. And there is a lot of this conversation going on about how different larger companies or merchants to freelancers, small businesses can help kind of fill the gaps, right? As the government is figuring their shit out, as state employment offices are figuring out their systems, like what else can be done? And so just wanted to flag that this is, again, an iterative ongoing process where you'll likely hear kind of articles or news programs just highlighting that PayPal or Square or other lending institutions are going to provide loans. We don't yet know what that looks like, how much is going to be provided. And frankly, even with small business packages that I'm starting to hear are going to be available from different credit lenders, those might be reduced rates on Wix and Shopify or BigCommerce or something like that, that are kind of packaged so that you can kind of keep doing business at a reduced rate, or they might also include grants. We just don't know. And this is likely something that we'll hear more about over the coming week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And we'll just keep updating you all on that and kind of where there are grants and loans and aid and then like other commercial offerings that you might benefit from. But just wanted to flag that. Thought it was good to just highlight quickly, just being smart about trying to organize yourself a little bit during this time period. There's a lot that's up in the air, but often we get a sense of calm from controlling what we can, right? And so to that end, just make sure that you are organized in how you're doing things. Download our Lance app, download QuickBooks, talk with your accountant, whatever it is that can get you a better sense of what you made in 2019, what you spent in 2019 on an annual basis and then on a monthly basis, because that's typically something you're going to have to fill out in all of these loans and aid forms. It's where we often as individuals get really stuck. And then, just have that somewhere so you can easily fill something out if it becomes available, because to the point that we're trying to emphasize, speed is important. Don't let it stop you from doing anything, but we want you to be able to take advantage of benefits quickly as they become available. The other thing that I think Kevin highlighted as well is make friends with your bank, your lenders, whoever they are, credit card companies.
Yeah.
It always helps to be human with other human beings, right? And even behind the machines and the algorithms and the applications process, there's always another human being. And so, be patient with them, let them know that this is really important to you. Make friends with whoever you can, because you never know when they're going to be the one to email you or pick up the phone or figure things out on your behalf or flag things for you, just because they feel connected to you, right? And that's what we're all trying to feel while we're staying at home in our small spaces, and just that'll go a long way. With that, those were the main things that we wanted to go over for you in terms of changes and edits. Wanted to just flag quickly some resources for you in terms of our email addresses, in terms of kind of the general searchable resource we created, where you can get those top line numbers within the Lance app, free. So it's a kind of good hack for you if you'd like. And then with that, Kevin, you ready to go through the questions that everyone's piled into here?
Yes, I am. I'm sure we've got tons of them. Notice my email there at the top. Kevin@consulinsurance.com. Think of the Consul of Rome. Add the word insurance.com. Yeah, so if you want to butter me up for more help, just talk about Roman history for a while, and then you got me for enough time. But anyway, a half hour for anybody on this call or anybody you know that's in the gig economy, independent contractor at all. I met some really cool people last week. Email me. We'll find you a half hour. We'll sit down, and I'll go through this whole thing detail by detail for your specific situation. Happy to help. So let's try to get to the questions. Let's see. How do I get to the chat? Oh, there it is.
Yeah, I think the first question we can start with that I wasn't able to get to was Molly at 1216. You applied for the EIDL loan 2 weeks ago. Check on the status. I would say that just about every website now that we know of has kind of a tracking link that you can check in with. Makes sense that you haven't gotten a response yet, frankly. These are still being distributed, and notes have been sent out. I will flag too, this isn't been obvious to everybody, but make sure that you have a mailing address that you can go check mail at as you're applying for all these forms, because there's emails being sent to people, but then there are also in various states physical letters being sent to people. So make sure that you do include a mailing list that you can access.
Okay, so there's another question from Debbie. Debbie, I'm going to wait for this truck to go by. All right. By the way, I'm the only kind of guy, well, I am the kind of guy that runs towards gas leaks, but that's just another story. So Debbie asks, if your monthly income has been cut, but not your hours, great question, and you are a contractor, can you apply for unemployment? Debbie, no, you can apply for underemployment. It's a special designation called underemployment, and it is in the EDD website for the graphic that I had presented. So let's go to the next one there. From Jessica, SBA is unable to accept new applications at this time for the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, EIDL, related assistance program based on available appropriations funding. Jessica, keep going back to that link, especially late at night, because you never know when that's going to open back up. Jessica, but not the PPP. Jessica, if that's the same, no, it's a different Jessica, apologies. Jessica H versus Jessica M. Jessica M, I would go for the PPP if I were you. I think this name is Cam, K-A-M. There was a story today, the PPP funds ran out. Yes, I know they ran out. Doesn't matter. Find a banker, get the app ready to rock, all the supplement information you're going to need. So the moment that spigot turns back on, you're first in line. So Cam, I would suggest you make buddies with a banker. Jessica M, yes, apply to both the EIDL and the PPP. From IC, so just the letter I, the letter C. Can you explain what a forgivable loan means? Do you just automatically not have to pay it back, or do you have to do something in order to have the loan forgiven? IC, all you have to do is prove that you used the money for your business or your payroll. So do not pay off your credit cards with it unless all the credit card expenses on there are business related. Do not go on Amazon and buy that couch you've had an eye for. So you need to be able to prove you've spent the money. You can get it completely forgiven up to 25%, possibly 100%. But we know that 25% of the loan will be forgiven. Molly?
Yeah.
Nuna.
Okay. I was going to say, the thing that I would suggest about the forgivability, this is again why I highlighted kind of smart steps of trying to separate everything and keep yourself as organized as possible. This is actually a great time to start, like, set up a business banking account or something. One of our partners is Bank Novo, but you could do it with anybody, even at your bank that you currently have, just to then kind of try to separate things, because at some point, we don't know when, the government will likely say, hey, that $1,000 we gave you, did you really use it for all those business expenses? And then you'll be able to say, yeah, everything that tracked to here, or these expenses from my credit card are all business related. That was all my income, that was my home office, that was my supplies or expenses. And it just makes your life that much easier down the road. You know, again, everybody has their own system or lack thereof. So this can be an opportunity to just clean that up a little bit, and clarify. And then just kind of reoccurring question, especially with Molly, I think, and going forward, a lot of people are assuming that they can't apply to all of these options. And frankly, I think, Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong, but our stance is really apply to everything and kind of go back to
Absolutely.
opens up, because nobody knows the
I,
timing of when everything will land too.
exactly. And if this were Tinder, swipe right to everything. Okay. I'm dead serious. Swipe right. You're a lonely guy in an apartment by himself. Swipe right. Just keep swiping right till someone swipes right for you. Just keep going. Debbie K, saw your email come through for a half hour. Yes, we'll schedule that up. Jessica M, yeah, the SBA is currently unavailable. Jessica, keep going back. Oh, I already answered that. Carrie L, can you apply for PP as a 1099 worker? Yes, without a business bank account. I'll give you a quick story. Carrie, I'm the kind of guy that goes to bed at 9 o'clock and gets up at 4 a.m. One of my wife's friends, who is a banker, texted my wife and insisted to wake me up at 10:30 at night to apply for the PPP, because I didn't think I qualified for it. And between 10:30 at night, after waking me up, which is typically not a good idea, and 1:30 in the morning, we got it done. So I'm in the PPP system. So absolutely apply for it as a 1099 worker. And to your question specifically, Carrie, I had to supply my 1099s in order to qualify. Is that Joelle? I don't know if I butchered that. Sorry. Must you have 2019 filed to get this check? No. You don't have to file your 2019 taxes. I would get it done though, if you can. And here's a shameless promotion. If you have Lance and you use it, all these things will be at your fingertips. Michael, on the link you all gave for SBA/PPP, there is notice that it says temporary halted. Yeah, again, it's temporary halted. Keep checking back. They're going to open that spigot with enough people complaining. Conley, great Irish name. Will they have to provide them with the same interest rates? I believe the interest rates are set for these,
Yes.
If they're part of the program. And Conley, you come up with a very good point. If the interest rate is not 3.75, you see something different. It's a bloody scam, and run. So these interest rates are set in stone. So great point, Conley. Back from Michael. Yeah, exactly. So lapse in appropriations. So they're going to fix that, Michael, for the lapse in appropriations. From Molly again, I was on maternity leave for part of 2019, so my annual income is less than normally would be. Is there a way to document? Yes, take 2018. Take 2018, throw it in there. This is my normal income. I was on maternity leave in 2019. That's totally acceptable, Molly C. Conley, yes, I believe the document will be for download. I'm going to go with Mitch or Mick, M-I-C-H. How do you prove payroll? Great question, brother, or miss. How do you prove payroll when you're 1099 and don't run payroll through? I'm the same way, Mitch. I'm a combination of 1099 fees, all kinds of stuff. And what I did was I literally used the money I pay my self-employment taxes on. So I made X amount of money. I paid all these expenses, and whatever was left over was mine. That's what I use as my income, what I paid my self-employment tax on. Michelle M, if you have not given the IRS your bank account specs, can you do it now? I believe that is accurate. Una, you spoke to that, right?
Yeah, I actually don't know the answer to this. I know that there have been automated checks going into people's bank accounts, just starting within this last week, just slowly going in. I do know some people personally that this has happened for. And then there have been paper checks that have been talked about actually being mailed to people who never linked their bank accounts. I don't know that you can actually update your banking details with the IRS at this point, but I will certainly check into that after this call and see if there's just an easy way you can update your address and have them send it in, kind of just direct deposit wise. So it's something that we'll follow
Cool.
on.
Right. Okay. And back from Molly C. What's a good website to track idle? Unfortunately, only the idle SBA website. From Sherry H. What time period should I do the payroll expense document for? Sherry, great question. I want you to look at your 2019 numbers, and then I want you to look Q2, Q3, Q4 of 2019, and Q1 2020. Whichever number is bigger is the number you're going to use. So I know it's a little bit extra math, but take a look at 2019, all 4 quarters. Then take a look at 2019, Q2, Q3, Q4, add Q1 2020. And if that second number is bigger than the first number, obviously go for the bigger number. Go for the bigger number. Again, I can't say it enough, swipe right. I think this is Alyssa. If you are an LLC and there are 2 owners, can we apply as a sole prop? No, but you can still apply as individual owners as the LLC. Actually, I know exactly how to do this, Alyssa, so email me and I'll show you how to set that up. Christy N. What is the amount or percent decrease in income that would qualify, disqualify a business for any of these types of aid? I don't care. Christy, I would apply for it anyway because you don't know when you're going to get punched in the mouth. You don't know when this is going to end. This is not a political statement, but everything so far has been a Charlie Foxtrot. If you're familiar with that Marine Corps term, you don't know when this is going to nail you. So just apply, get it done. And you know what, Christy, if you don't need the money, don't take it. It's super simple. Okay. Conley, I've been a freelancer advertising for over 15 years. Some agencies put me on W-2. Great question. Put me on as a temp agency for W-2. Some is 1099. I would add them all up. So what Conley's asking is I get money from various different forms. I get money directly as a gig economy guy. I get money as a 1099. I get money as a W-2. You probably have some freelance work that you didn't document. Conley, this is why using a thing like Lance is so key because it gives you a total bottom line of your income, which you could use to apply for. Back to Lucia. I read that you shouldn't apply to EIDL and PPP. I get that. Lucia, that might change, and you might have read that. I am reading differently this morning that you should apply for both. I'd go for both. Andrew F.
I would also,
go for it. Sorry.
Real quick, Kevin, I was going to say that, you know, I'm having these conversations every day with you all and other people. And I just know that amongst all the different options, it's probably adding up to your typical monthly income between the unemployment, the PPP, the EIDL loan. And so just know that this is all, the intention of all this government aid is to smooth out and or try to bring you as close to your typical monthly income as humanly possible. So you could always layer it and stack it for the next 3 to 6 months because you don't know when you're actually going to get clients back as well full time. So just be mindful that, again, the intention of this is to get you to as close as your full-time typical pay as a freelancer or as a jumble of W-2 and 1099. And we don't know how long it's going to take to recover from this period. So it could be over 3 months that they say, how did you spend that unemployment plus EIDL plus PPP? Or it could be 6 months from now, right? So just, again, it reinforces the apply to everything, see what you can get, and then make the decision about which options you would like to take advantage of or feel comfortable, but at least then you have those options.
I couldn't agree more. That's good. Yeah, exactly. Apply to everything. Andrew F. Is there a maximum monthly income that can be earned for each program? I don't believe so. Also, well, there's a $100,000 cap on the PPP for your payroll if, Andrew, you run payroll for yourself. Andrew, this is kind of a complex question. I'll keep going. Also, how is that calculated? Things have been slow, but I am not really sure how much less I'll be earning this year due to the pandemic. So, Andrew, I think you and I are in very similar situations. If you would email me, kevin@consulinsurance.com, and I will walk you through what I did because I think I'm in a very similar situation.
Just to answer that generally, though, the way that that's calculated is, again, kind of historically based, right, for everyone.
Yes.
That's kind of the default setting. So nobody knows if they were going to otherwise grow their income by 20% this year, right? All that the government and frankly we can arguably show is this is how much we would have made last year, or we made last year, or that we made in Q1, and that's kind of generally how all these things are calculated. But certainly if you were expecting to make a ton more or were on the path to do that, reach out to Kevin, have that conversation. But just know that there is a calculator involved on the state of the
Right.
In the government and the state.
Cool. That is spot on. Conley asked again, so that means don't wait to be denied for unemployment before applying for PPP. Absolutely, mate. Everything. Apply for it all. Christy, we filed our 2018 taxes as married filing jointly, where spouse's W-2 at another company. Should 2019 taxes be filed differently for purposes of applying for the same? Christy, I'm not a tax guy, and so I wouldn't want to. Please understand I'm not a CPA. However, I am an independent contractor whose wife works a W-2 business, and we're going to still file jointly. I think this is a tax question. Do you use a tax guy or you're a TurboTax guy? Happy to talk to you more about that offline, because I bet you there's some math questions in there specific to your situation that would make that determination. Great question again from Christy. Christy, we should have Christy on the damn program. Is there an individual credit score requirement? No. Oh God, no. If they tried to apply credit scores, there's no way in hell. So don't sweat a credit score, positive or negative, on the EIDL loan or the PPP. Right, so there's the credit again, same question. No, the credit score is not. And that's from Andrew N. From Rhiannon, you had W-2 in the past 18 months, self-employed for a year. I put in my last employer, but then identified myself as self-employed. Was that right? Everyone gives me conflicting advice. Rhiannon, I think you did it right by saying self. If it gets spit back out, you could always use the name of the company or customer, client, that you were working for in the gig aspect of your business. Anything to get through the system. ANDR, Andrew. I just started trading stock. Does that mean I'm making money? Ooh, again, that's a tax question, Andrew. Not exactly sure how that dog hunts. I gotta be brutally honest. Una, do you have a clue if
you just started anything in the last month, it's not gonna apply. Because it's not part of your calculations in either 2019 or the first 3 months of this year, which is the kind of cap that they're using to calculate kind of what your your claim benefits could be for unemployment, et cetera. Also, for better or worse, you can only report the dividends that you made off of that trading in the last year, right? So if anything,
right, okay,
you made a ton in 2019 that you didn't make in 2018, then absolutely file your taxes, right? If that additional benefit, if you're making under 75K per individual, is useful to you in smoothing out this point. But again, go talk to an accountant about that, but those are just the general brushstrokes on that.
Cool. So I hope that answers Andrew's first question. Sherry H., can you please explain what you mean by, quote, you use what you paid yourself unemployment tax on? So, Sherry, if you didn't file for unemployment tax, it's called FUTA. If you don't know what that is, that means you probably didn't pay for it. But my guess is you paid self-employment tax, and that would be the amount of money that you'd use as a basis of your income. Andrew C., W-9 freelancer, no work. I just started. Okay, I skipped that. Sorry. Carrie L., thanks, Kevin. Do I have my documentation? I have my documentation for my completed 2019 taxes. Where do you apply for PPP if you do not have a business account with a bank? is only through banks. Una's got a huge list of non-bank lenders, right, at the last slide.
I wouldn't say huge list because they've been opting themselves out of that list.
Oh, lovely.
As they've hit their own kind of caps in terms of how much they can lend. But I can say that Fundera, Fundera, is a separate lender that is not ghosting people and is extending loans right now. But we'll continue to kind of update that list in our resource page and let you guys know the best options. But, you know, best course of action is the bank you already bank with. And then secondly is Fundera. And then as we learn more about which lenders are really active and doing a great job for people, we will update you all on that as well.
Very cool. Thank you. Lucia, do you know anything about the pandemic unemployment assistance? I believe that's something that's just been added, starts on 4/28. I will deep dive on that, and when we do another update next week, I'll get that to you. Sherry again, I have worked for different companies as a freelancer, and some pay me W-2, some 1099. So for PPP, I put yourself as a sole proprietor, independent contractor. Yes, yes. Kelly B, how do we get the extra $660 per week unemployment for freelancers? That's under the EDD slide. It's the very first slide after the summary. We'll get that back up to you. So is it something I select would I apply for unemployment? Yes. How do I apply? Again, it's the edd.gov website. When can you apply? Now. Much like when my 14-month-old is asking for pancakes. Let's see, if you are still getting income, albeit reduced, should you still, yes. Sandra F, if you are still getting income, albeit reduced, should you still file for the PUA? Absolutely, apply for everything. Debbie M, do you have to use your own bank account when filling out the application? No, I've discovered that with the PPP, you can go to any bank you want. Christy N, when does repayment start? When does repayment start on these loans? Christy, I think in a year, but that might change. Una, do you know anything on that?
Yeah, it's not expected for a while. Best guess is a year, but then you have an extended period of time to repay them. And I just want to clarify, part of that is potentially forgivable if you end up spending it on your income, on different supplies, et cetera. That $1,000, that's a grant within the SBA, and then part of the PPP, which is meant to be 2.5 times your monthly income or 2.5 months worth of your typical income, right? That's calculated by them. And then the interest rates on those are really low, 3.75% on the SBA. And then latest calculation on the PPP is 1%. Who knows what it's really going to be by lender, but that's also why we don't want you to get scammed. And then the repayment period on these is 10 to 30 years, depending on the lender. So again, it's why we are further encouraging you to just apply to every option, because then you can make the decision. And frankly, even if you end up using it as a loan that's not forgivable for whatever reason, then it's still less expensive to you than a typical credit card interest rate or frankly, a lot of student loans in this country.
3.75% tops. 3.75%. It's pennies. Michael B. I heard the EDD pushes your claim to fill out additional information for PUA. States are all saying they will be posting more information on it as soon as they get. Michael, thank you so much for posting that. Back to Conley. Does it matter whether you put yourself as a sole prop or independent contractor? Great question. If you are an independent contractor, sole prop, you don't have a legal entity around yourself. Maybe that's a better way for me to define it.
Yes.
A sole proprietor is literally you run everything through your personal SSN, your social security number. If you're an independent contractor who uses, when you file taxes or pay taxes, you use your social security number. You don't have what they call an EIN, an employer identification number. So you're not an LLC, you're not an S Corp, you're not a C Corp. Independent contractor and sole prop are interchangeable, which I believe also answers Sherry H's question. I'm sorry you said yes. Question was independent contractor or sole prop. They're interchangeable, whatever you're comfortable with. PUA is the same as unemployment from Joelle. I believe so. Applied with the New York Department of Labor. Joelle, I actually have a broker, an employee of mine who works in New York, who would be on top of that. I'd be happy to connect you to, because he's going to be infinitely more versed in what's going on in New York, where I live in California. I'm going to know California. So find me on email, kevin@consulinsurance.com. But oh my God, the last question. Jessica M. I filed for unemployment in March, and it's being held up. Will they back pay me with the PUA from the date I filed? I believe that is accurate, that they will back pay. Jessica, it's going to take a while. I hope you're patient, and check back with them. This is also another piece of advice. This is not the time to be shy. You could probably tell from my personality that I run towards gunfire, gas leaks, explosions, things of that nature, and I never shut up. So if you need to channel your inner Kevin, you need to do that, because no one's going to fight for you harder than you. Swing away. Be annoying. Get in these people's faces. Get in the front of the line. You deserve it. You work your ass off. You love what you do. This is not your fault. Okay, what's happening now is not your fault. That doesn't mean that you should play victim to it. All right? Get after it. Get to everything. Una?
Yeah, I would just reinforce what Kevin said. That's why we're here, is just to kind of give you that extra injection of confidence, to go after all of the support. This is 100% the intention, is to help everyday people weather the storm and get the help that we all need, right, to continue operating. And so do yourself the equal justice in applying for all these things. Don't limit yourself or tell yourself no. Let other people tell you no, and then maybe keep pushing beyond that, right? Yeah. Just really critical that you all do that. Really appreciate you guys taking the time. Again, we'll send out this email with all this information, all of the questions answered, in an email this afternoon, just so you have a minute to digest, but did include our email addresses. If you need anything in the meantime, we're available. Really appreciate you guys saying thanks for this. Just trying to do what we can in the moment to give you the latest information. Again, it will likely change by this time next week, so we'll keep doing these weekly webinars just to keep you updated the best that we can. And in the meantime, keep updating our resource page, and shoot us an email if you need anything, okay? And just to answer Sherry's question, we have all of your emails based on your registration to this webinar. If for whatever reason somebody tagged you into it and you didn't register directly for the webinar, feel free to shoot us an email, the una@justlance.co link, email address, and I will make sure that you get the information. And Kevin, you are getting a question about impersonations, which I'm sure you do on the side and or around Lisa.
So Michael, I can pretend to be some sort of Irish independent contractor for you. And I can get on the lines and I can completely annoy them with the rogue, and then just keep talking to them as fast as I possibly can until they give you the money. I'm happy to do that.
All right, awesome. On that note, I hope everyone is smiling and laughing through the craziness, and looking forward to continuing to help you navigate all of this to our greatest ability. Have a good rest of your Thursday, and let us know how else we can help. All right?
All right, guys, I am here. Email me, half hour of my time. Happy to help. And remember, swipe right.
All right.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Una.
Bye.
Algo para pura verga.